You have one unheard message. First unheard message sent yesterday at 7:15 p.m.
Listen here. This is Memphis Hush Bandit. Hush. So I was calling in to tell y'all that Richard Lee ain't gonna be able to do the show for a while. He's got some homework to do, and by homework, I mean he's got to work on that shitty house we got next door. It's got a lot of shit in it. So he's a Bandit Hush Bandit. But anyways, he ain't gonna be around for a while. He's gonna have to do that, and I'm so happy because he's not gonna be tying up my TV with that no good Danny Davis Bandit Hush. He's not gonna be. This dog is barking. He's not gonna be tied up watching Danny Davis anymore. I ain't gonna have to watch him lose on my TV every week. He's just watching and he's just losing. And I could be watching Dirty Dancing, Pretty Woman. That Richard Gere he's a sexy man. You know, he's no Jimmy Valiant. He is I got tickled. He is a sexy man. But anyways, well, this will come back eventually. He's just gonna have some stuff to try to get done maybe later on. But yeah, I don't call him now, so I don't watch Danny Davis. Okay? Alright. Me and Bandit will talk to you later. Alright. Bye-bye.
End of message. To delete this message, press 7. Message deleted.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, coming to you as always from the Retro Wrestling Archive in beautiful Gadsden, Alabama, along with producer Smokey working his production magic behind the scenes. And now join me in welcoming my co-host. First, it's Josh Briley of P3 Radio, but moving forward, he wants to be known as JB Ice Baby. Josh, how's it going, bud?
Man, Gene, how are you doing this week?
Whew, it's been a busy one, man. It's been a busy one. I can't get caught up to save my life, but we made it to another episode, man. 67 of the Retro Wrestling Review. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's been a lot of them, but God Almighty, that voicemail that got me. My God, yeah. I feel like this may be like a new era of the Retro Wrestling Review for a while, you know?
Yeah. Folks, if you didn't quite pick up on it from that voicemail that we got from Memo at the top of the show, Richard Mullican is going to be away from the show for an undetermined amount of time. So I'm happy to introduce our new full-time co-host here at the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. Of course, he's the owner, founder, and president of STSpod.club. Spoiler alert, it's Brian Trammell.
Finally, I got to take it over, guys. Richard's gone. I kicked him out. Brother Gene, Brother Josh, get bucked.
Finally squeezed him out, BT.
I finally squeezed him out. Good God.
That's long-range chess, BT.
My best friend Gene and my favorite co-host of P3 Radio. And I'm sponsored by Furbuster, and I want to be called BT Ice Baby. So there we go.
I feel a bit like Eddie Marlin a couple of weeks ago when he was like, well, Eddie Gilbert called up and quit, so now we got to have a new Southern Heavyweight Champion. You know, Smokey sent me that voicemail the other day, and we quickly scheduled a one-night tournament in Memphis to determine who would be the new co-host of the show, and BT won the tournament. Unfortunately, there's not any footage of that tournament, but trust me, we did have one, and in the finals, BT beat Mike Needham by hitting him in the nose once again with a clipboard. if you don't get that,
shout out
I
to
don't blame you.
Mike. Yep. That was
A
your
little bit
fault, Mike.
inside,
Come on.
a little bit inside baseball for everybody there, but no, we're glad to have you, BT. Thanks for stepping in as always, but in a little more permanent role now. So
I'm excited. You guys know I have fun when I jump in here, and we've talked. I don't know if it's going to be every show, but it will be close. If I can, I can. And I watch it with y'all and then listen to y'all. So why not just jump in here for Richard until Richard gets ready to come back?
And Richard did say that he might be able to step in at times that you're not available from here, here and there. He just can't be here every week. And if neither one of you can, then we'll either just me and Josh will do it, or we may surprise everybody with a random third person, or we may let producer Smokey jump in here and see what he has to say about all of this. But anyway, here we are getting ready to talk about the February 16th, 1991 episode. I'm going to warn everybody right up front here, because I didn't realize this till I got to watching this week's show. This isn't the live Memphis feed. I believe this was the XMT 30 TV out of Nashville, so it's going to be a bit chopped up. And the quality of this one didn't look great.
Somebody's tracking was off in the middle when they put this. Yeah, you can see that tracking right in the middle. So
yeah, so forgive us. The clips aren't going to be pretty, but you'll be able to hear them just fine. And there's a few things this week that we need to hear straight from the horse's mouth. We got Michael St. John's back again this week, so that's good. Him and Dave hype up a stacked show. Stunning Steve Austin's in the house. The U.S. Mail Curtis Thompson, Jeff Jarrett, Dr. Tom Prichard, and of course Eric Embry's back for more, along with Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. And at the very beginning, Dr. Tom Prichard shows up uninvited at commentary. He mocks them and says that he's going to wake things up by providing some real commentary, which makes it sound like to me in the original show, we probably had already had a match or two happen, because he said everybody was falling asleep. Surely not just from that quick intro, but then again, Dr. Tom Piper may just have a odd sense of humor. But this kind of sets the tone for the rest of the show as Tom takes a spot and doesn't really shut up after that. He's here until it's time for him to get into the ring. So I don't know. What did you guys think of having Dr. Tom out here on commentary during the show this week?
So thinking back around this time period, it was kind of the thing that was going on with at least WWF and WCW, where like Piper, he had just jumped in, not long before this, and he was doing primetime wrestling and Superstars, I think, after Jesse the Body left.
Yeah.
And then you might have Neidhart or Honky Tonk Man or whoever. So it was kind of like the thing to have the wrestler do commentary if they thought he was any good at it. And Prichard's good. I mean, he's entertaining, and if you can't have Lance out there, Michael St. John is great, but Dr. Tom was almost adding like this element that was always missing with Memphis wrestling, on commentary.
I agree. I 100% with Josh. I love Dr. Tom is, like I said last week, remembering him. I've always been a fan, but when I was watching that match last week, he's just so smooth this week also. But just, doing this Piper invitation, that's the only thing. It didn't bother me in commentating as much as sometimes it gets annoying at the end when you start hearing it over and over. But yeah, I thought, like you said, he added something different that really hasn't been done on a regular basis on Memphis wrestling, but I enjoyed it.
Yep. I thought it was a good addition, and the Piper thing doesn't come across on commentary as bad as it does in some of the promos, so that's helpful at least. So we kick off the show. Out comes Steve Austin, Doug Gilbert, Dirty White Boy, Uptown Bruno, along with Jamie Dundee, but he's not Jamie Dundee anymore. This is going to be our first clip. Let's see a little bit of the introduction We'll let Dirty White Boy tell you what he's calling.
To Dirty White Boy here just for a moment.
Watch yourself.
Well, here comes a whole bunch of people. Steve Austin with him. Bruno is with him. Doug Gilbert, of course. And Jamie Dundee. Jamie Dundee has been fired.
Hold on. No. Nobody's been fired or anything like that. First of all, I'd like to say this is not Jamie Dundee. This is J.C. Ice Baby from now on. Because you see, I might have done a lot of bad things in my time, but there's one thing that I don't agree on is child abuse, whether it's physical or mental. And that's exactly what superstar Bill Dundee has done to this kid his whole life. Yeah. Now, shut up, I'm talking. Now, this boy right here, JC, I've been talking to him, and he's told me that, every kid's dream is to grow up to be maybe a big superstar in football, baseball, but no, what does Bill Dundee come up? No, son, you can't play football. No, you can't play baseball because I don't want you to embarrass the Dundee name. Now, is that some way to treat your own son? Huh? Is it, Dave?
I don't know that happened.
Well, now, it come from this man's mouth. Now, why should he lie to me? So I'll tell you what. We've all got together, and we're going to take JC under our wings. And we're going to treat this kid like he should have been treated a long time ago. We're going to, hey, I tell you what, if you keep working out, eating right, you get big as us, you can accomplish anything in life that you want to. You can be, I thought you was the greatest referee I'd ever laid eyes on. You can be a professional wrestler. It's not too late. You can be a ball player. You can be anything you want to be. All you have to do, JC, is just listen to me, Dirty Doug, Bruno. Just listen to us. We'll take you under wing, and we'll give you the love that you need. That stinking low life, nothing happening. Bill Dundee never did.
That's nice. Thank you, Dad. Dad, there you go. Been fired by the USWA as a referee, and now this is your extended family here? What's your role with?
This is my family. Okay, I was fired by the USWA, but I don't work for the USWA. I work for my family. The Memphis Mafia, my new family, my new fathers, my new brothers, my new uncles, my new family. That's it.
Well, it's a very
what about
interesting...
Bill Dundee? See what I mean? Exactly, Bill Dundee. And what we're going to do here today is we're going to show everybody exactly how tough we are, and this big man right back here is fixing to show you exactly how tough and how mean he can be right here on live TV.
Great promo from the Dirty White Boy. Great follow-up with Jamie there. He's got a new family, guys. New fathers, new brothers, new uncles, he says. It's a new family, and I thought this was a great way to kick off the heel turn for Jamie after last week's referee debacle, and he's now a part of the Memphis Mafia crew here. And the thing about it is, he'd already been doing this out in Dallas, in the Dallas end of the USWA for a little while now. So here they had to find a way to bring it to Memphis and tell the story here. And so far, from what I've seen, I really liked it. What do you guys think?
I like that they, I didn't get it at the time, but, watching all this back to review, I'm noticing it's like, they are really investing a lot of time and everything into Jamie and making this thing work. And for that time period, I think he was probably like 19 or something, still a teenager. And for them to be spending all this time week after, you'll see week after week, it's just a few weeks at this point, but for them to be doing that really says something, and that's really cool. But I just have to say, Doug Gilbert, that is peak fashion, is it not?
The jeans tucked into the cowboy boots,
snakeskin boots, the satin jacket, the Macho Man glasses and bandana. Ultimate comfort. If I can accomplish anything, I want to get that look going again.
He didn't even have to say anything. The outfit said it for him. He just let everybody else do the talking, and the outfit did the talking for him.
And Jamie's so good. I mean, like we said, just so young, but so good. I don't know what the hell he was wearing. Looked like a jumpsuit he got from Meemaw. But that was crazy. I got another question for Doug on a Q&A. Well, how was it working for Steve Austin? With Steve Austin, has he ever answered or talked about Stone Cold?
No, he hasn't. We'll have to address that soon.
Put that down in the haircut question I had last week. So
yeah.
Garvin cut his hair.
That's one thing I noticed, last week and then this week. This is Jamie, like you said, still a teenager here. He doesn't stumble over any words. This all comes just completely natural to him. And yeah, that outfit. I mean, if you're trying to look like a little punk out there that you want everybody to hate, I mean, I'm sure he put that on, looked in the mirror, this polka dot jumpsuit looking thing, and like, yeah, I couldn't like somebody wearing this, So,
I love it that they said it was child abuse too.
Yes,
Bill was abusing Jamie as a kid. So
Tony Anthony says, "There's one thing I can't say, that's child abuse." Damn, they're coming in hot right out of the gate right here. This is great.
And then Dave, he got into he's like, "Well, I don't know that happened." Well, this man right here said that it did. He wouldn't accept Jamie's account for it. But what we didn't see was the whole thing Jamie said, right? This was in the segment of what he was telling the kids to do.
No, I think that comes up in the next segment.
He comes out
after Bill.
Kids. That's next. Okay.
Yeah, he comes out after Bill later, and that's when we get that line. So,
Which is also...
I can't wait till we get there. So match number 1 here, stunning Steve Austin with JC Ice Baby in his corner, taking on the U.S. male Curtis Thompson. And this was a solid, back and forth match that a few months from now you could have seen in WCW.
That's right.
But we're seeing it here in Memphis. And not a bad match at all. I mean, Curtis Thompson's not, he's not a main event guy, but he definitely was better than the jobs they were having him do for Crockett all that time. So what a way to kick off the show here. Of course, we are doing everything in our power to get as much heat on Jamie as we can. So, of course, he interferes, pulls Thompson's leg. Austin ends up getting the win. Dr. Tom's on commentary putting over how Jamie's standing up for himself, and Dave's just not having it. So, all in all, the entire first segment of the show is all about getting JC Ice Baby over. And then we go to a local promo, which is not in the studio.
I had 2 comments about that match real quick. I thought it was a sweet backdrop from Steve Austin. He took a big backdrop. I thought Thompson, like you said, looked decent, good comeback. But Michael St. John, his comment of the week was during this match. He said, 2 good-looking wrestlers. And I was thinking to myself, does this dude have – I mean, he was into that. 2 good-looking wrestlers there. He had got a crush going on with Steve Austin. And, Curtis Thompson brought out that package with him. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, Curtis Thompson's biggest opponent this week, though, was his tights. Did you see him at the end? Whenever he took the finish and he was getting up, he had to dig them all out of his ass.
I know those tights, they loved that ass, didn't they? They loved it. Boy. It was all up in it.
Would have had a stroke if he was here.
Oh, my God.
In Memphis at this time.
Let me get those out for you, honey.
Let me help you get that out there. Yeah.
But yeah, a strong match here to start the show, and we get a localized promo for Nashville, where apparently Nashville is going to be seeing Uptown Bruno tagging up with JC Ice against referees Paul Neighbors and Frank Morrell. Now, that's not a match the Dirt Sheet nerds
5-star, baby. Meltzer gave it 5 stars. I remember.
It certainly has potential to be a fun match, if not a good one for sure. So next up, we go to Superstar Bill Dundee is here, and I think he's having a little bit of second thoughts about the way he handled things last week. It's kind of I don't know, it's a more mild-mannered, humble Bill Dundee than we're used to seeing. There's not many times you'll ever see Bill Dundee come out like, hey, maybe I was wrong. This might have all been a mistake. And apologizes for embarrassing Jamie and pleads with him to come home. And so we're going to hear a little bit of Bill's speech, and then we're going to get Jamie's reply in this clip.
Bill? Let's talk about some of the action coming up this week here.
Well, I know it's supposed to be talking about a wrestling match out here, but wrestling's really not what's on my mind right now. If I could take this time, Dave, I'd like to talk, you know who I'm trying to talk to, is Jamie Dundee. I've called him all week long. He's got that stupid answer machine on. He won't return no calls. Now, Jamie, please, pay attention. I know you're standing back there watching the monitor, and White Boy and all them guys back there is telling you you're on the right road. No, son, you're not. When you was little, I used to try to explain things to you. If you're driving the car when they robbed the bank, you're just as guilty as the guy who walked in there with a gun and held up the teller. And okay, man, I made a fool of you last week on television by spanking your backside, and I know I shouldn't have done it. I'm not saying you didn't need to be chastised for what you was doing, but I should never have done it in front of millions of people on national television. Now, I'm sure you acted in a fit of rage, and you run in there with all them goofs telling you what to do and whoop me. Well, let bygones be bygones, son. I'm still your dad. You're on the wrong road, son. You're going nowhere. I'm still your dad, and I love you. I just don't like what you're becoming. Thank you, Dave.
Bill, I understand. You had to be moved by what your dad said out here.
I'll talk to you for a minute. Now, I seen Bill Dundee come out here and apologize. Was that groggling? Was that what you call it, apologizing? Was that what you would call it, apologizing?
I would certainly call it sincere apology.
Apologizing for what he done, you know, and I was sitting in the back thinking, and when I was growing up, when I was a little bitty kid, you know, he spanked me when I done wrong, and you know something, he never ever apologized to me one time when I was a little kid for doing that. And you know why he apologized this time? Because I whooped him like a dog. That's what I done. I came out here and set the record straight. So for all you little kids out there, you little ice babies, if you want to do exactly like next time you're fat, out of shape, out of date, over the hill old man tells you he's finna take his belt off and whoop you. No, sir, you pull your belt off and you light into him like a dog that he is. And when you get whooping on him, he's gonna say to you, he's gonna say, please, son, stop beating on me. That is why Bill Dundee came out and apologized, because he knows right now, this day, his days are done, and I can whoop him anytime and any place. And the only thing I got to say is, word to your mother, baby.
Word to your mother, baby. Woo! Good shit, guys. Good. I know y'all, I don't want to step on you here, Gene, but man, oh my God, I wrote just a great promo. He is so good. So good.
I love that he started out like you almost think he's choked up, and you think he's like, all right, maybe he sees he's wrong. And then, you know, it's a great misdirection, because then he just goes the complete opposite. And I sure didn't expect him to go full on telling the kids at home, if your parent gets ready to whoop you, you take your belt off and you whoop them. And
whooped him like a dog. Whooped him like a dog, y'all.
Oh my God, damn, that was fun. Josh, what'd you think about it?
Man, this is one of my favorite Memphis wrestling promos ever. I wore this fucking tape out. My granny, you know, I've said this a million times. My granny would record every week, you know, starting in just before this. And this is a tape that I just watched over and over and over. And I thought this was the fun. I was 8 years old at this time. This was some of the funniest shit I'd ever heard at that point. Great shit.
I think I was like 14 when this was going on. And I remember it well. Like this whole angle, it just sticks out of my mind and always has. And it just, I don't know, you really hadn't seen something like this back then on television. Like the son rebelling against the dad like this. And, you know, and Vanilla Ice was cool at the time and all that. Him saying, word to your mother.
Yeah, the little things, man, like that. We talked about PG-13 being the masters of connecting to what younger people like, teenagers and stuff. Yeah. And he was doing it with everybody at school, you know, that was cool, had the little asshole dyed rat tail. You know, if they had brown hair, they would do it blonde and all. It's just the shit on the side with his name in his head and stuff. It was great.
I have said this before, but my first girlfriend had a rat tail. So just let y'all know that again.
We know you're very proud of that.
I'm proud of that. I really
am. So then we move on to the next segment, which is match number 2, the Dirty White Boy, also with JC Ice. So up to now, this has been the JC Ice hour. We are going in all in on JC Ice here, but I thought, well, that first match was pretty good. The second match, Chris Walker. Chris Walker looked impressive for about 90 seconds. And then it kind of went downhill. But I will say this, and this might it's not really a spoiler, but one thing that has struck me so far in 91, the TV match quality is far and above what we saw in 93. Now, I'm not saying every match is great and I love the finishes, but I mean, we're not seeing as many just straight up squash matches. Like this show didn't have a squash match. Like everyone in each match was at least somebody who was getting used, prominently on the card. Now, Chris Walker's green and he's not going to have a great match, but he's not, TD Steele or somebody that flip-flops between a ref and a wrestler and, whatever. But yeah, so Chris Walker looks good in the beginning. JC sticks his nose in. Dirty White Boy ends up picking up the win thanks to him. And again, we are really, really, really driving home that JC Ice is just a little asshole and somebody's going to have to do something about it. And my guess it's probably going to be his dad. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, let's take a quick podcast commercial break. And when we come back, Lawler and the Gilberts. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here. Lots of new stuff happening here at WrestleCopia. If you haven't checked out our website at WrestleCopia.com, it's a great way to keep up with the latest episodes of all of your favorite Copia programming, from the Wrestling Memory Grenade to Regional Wrestling with the Territory Talk, the Wrestling Stoop with the legendary Bob Roop, and of course all of those programs also available at your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the Copia world, all the latest news, random thoughts, fun videos, pictures, and more, make sure to join the more than 33,000 followers over at Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. Don't be left out. And last but definitely not least, it's what keeps the entire machine going. I'm talking about Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We appreciate your support in helping us pay the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network running and enabling us to continue to bring you all the quality programming that we offer.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen if you know what's good for you.
All right, so we see we're going to see some highlights from last week's. Not here, we're not going to show them here, but on the show, we saw some highlights of Jerry Lawler versus Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert from the previous Monday night. It looks like Lawler has Gilbert beat when suddenly there's a run-in from who? Tommy Gilbert. Now, I expected maybe Doug, Dirty White Boy, any combination of those guys, but no. His father, Tommy Gilbert, hits the ring and they attack Lawler. They beat on Lawler pretty good. And then I'm expecting, well, all right, Jeff Jarrett should be here any minute. Bill Dundee, perhaps. Nope. Eddie Marlin comes to the ring to make the save and takes down Tommy Gilbert. And I don't know. All this caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to see Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Marlin when I first saw the beginning of this clip. What did you guys think about it? We'll get to the rest of it here in a minute, but just this portion as far as the clip from last week.
Yeah, it's a position you really don't see Eddie Marlin in all the time. You know, he's throwing dukes and stuff. It's like, you know, two old guys at the gas station, like, that's my pump, you son of a bitch. Well, I'm gonna get that goddamn pump, and they just start fighting. Like, but it's real. It looks real. They look like it's a for real bad situation. And you know, they got priors from a couple months ago at this point from, you know, because what was it? Eddie Marlin was the one supposed to get hit by the car, right? And Lawler pushed him out of the way and got hit from Eddie. So he's kind of plugged into this already, but yeah, didn't expect it to happen this way.
Man, Josh, I don't know if I ever thought of that like that, but yeah, what a story. Josh came up with the whole story about the car that was for Eddie. I never thought about it like it, but go back and look at it. That's the way it is. I love Tommy Gilbert, huge Tommy Gilbert fan, and I love him during this time period because he comes off, and we'll talk about it in a little bit with the interview, but just a old, tough-ass wrestler that beat the shit out of you with a shoe. And then Eddie Marlin's punches, they might be better than half of the roster there. He had some good punches now.
Yeah. And, you know, they had did this, if you dip back to 88, when it was Eddie's reign of terror, when he came back to Memphis and he had Doug with him and he had Tommy with him, and Missy was out there with Eddie, and they were fireballing everybody. Yes. Like every week somebody was getting fireballed. Randy Hales got it one week. You know, eventually that led to an Eddie Marlin Tommy Gilbert match. And even in 88, you're like, all right, well, I didn't expect that. Well, then you expect them to go this well again in 91, but here we are. But I'm thinking, as I'm watching this, it's been so long since I've seen any of this, like, all right, so I guess this Monday night, we're going to see Lawler and Eddie Marlin against Eddie and Tommy Gilbert. No, we're not. We're going to see Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Lawler defend the USWA tag team titles against Eddie Gilbert and Eric Embry. And we get a promo. We got to check this out here.
I love this.
Yeah. Listen to this promo. This is interesting. We're going to talk a little bit more about the whole big picture of this on the other side. But check out this.
And now here he is right here.
That's right. You know, I feel like I'm a very lucky man today, Dave Brown. First off, I'm finally getting the recognition I deserve. I'm finally getting a shot at a title, the USWA World Tag Team Championship. And when you're going after Tag Team Championship, you want to make sure you have not only a good partner, not only a good wrestler in your corner, but a man that you know is almost as ruthless as yourself, which is me, almost as dirty-minded as me, and that man just happens to be the most flamboyant wrestler today, Eric Embry. He will pull out any means at all, because Lawler, he doesn't like you, and Jeff Jarrett, he doesn't like you. And when Eric and myself step out of the ring, I know he's going to be a great partner. He's a great wrestler. He's a great fighter. You're looking at your next USWA World Tag Team Champions. Right, Eric?
Hey, you know, I can't wait till next week, man, because I'm going to have the chance. I'm going to have the opportunity to beat up two of the Tennessee's greatest in Jerry the King Lawler and Jeff Jarrett. You know why? You know, two of Tennessee's greatest, man, but everybody knows Tennessee and the whole Mid-South breeds losers. Look at your college basketball teams. Look at your football teams. You choke on the big ones. Your basketball teams are a bunch of jokes. Look at Memphis State. Look at the University of Kentucky. You know, the list goes on and on. You know, it all boils down to a guy from Texas can whoop a guy not only from Tennessee, but from any place, including the whole Mid-South, any day of the week. Because in Texas, we're winners. You know, some of the greatest wrestlers, no, not some of the greatest, all of the greatest wrestlers in professional wrestling have come from Texas. You know, there's Dory Funk Sr., Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk, the Dr. Tom Prichard, flamboyant Eric Embry, Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen. The list goes on and on. So, Jerry the King Lawler, you might be the king of Memphis, man, but Memphis ain't the whole world. Memphis is the armpit of the whole Mid-South. And Jerry Lawler, the king of Texas, the Texas stud, flamboyant Eric Embry, is going to slap you all over the place.
It don't matter whether it's in your hometown in Louisville, Kentucky, or Nashville. Man, I don't care where. Jeff Jarrett, man, you're still a snotty-nosed brat. Eddie, you're probably the only Tennessean that I'd let stand in my corner, man. So you just stand in the corner and you listen to me. And maybe some of the greatness will rub off on you, brother. Some of the greatness might rub off. And I'm going to show you how. Jerry Lawler, Jeff Jarrett, and any other that should have been whooped a long time ago, Texas style.
Well, Dave, I guess according to Eric Embry, I won't really have to do much this week. I guess I can just stand in the corner and let him do all the rest.
Well, it sounds like it. Sounds like the...
So, all right, a couple of things I want to say, then I'll pitch it to you guys. Number one, 1991 Eric Embry looks like if Tommy Rich and adorable Adrian Adonis had a kid, he would be Eric Embry. All right, that's first. Second of all, there is nothing subtle about Memphis. You bring Eddie Gilbert out there in his Tennessee orange tights with his white boots and his Tennessee Vols sweatshirt. He couldn't be any more Tennessee if he tried. Just to have his tag team partner go and take a giant dump all over Tennessee and put over Texas. But here's the part that confuses me about all this. We went so hard in the paint the last 2 weeks to make Eddie a heel against Lawler. And clearly, in this interview, we're seeing that something's fixing to happen. He's fixing to turn. I got to think that this was a change in bookers or change in plans, like within a couple of days of TV after you already did everything Monday night, right? Because it's so far in the other direction. I'm thinking maybe this is the moment where Eric Embry takes over and he's already got this Texas versus Tennessee feud planted in his mind. But what did you guys think coming out of seeing the clips from last week of Eddie and Lawler and Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Marlin to what this promo seems to be inferring?
I mean, that is what happened, Gene, because I'm huge Eric Embry fan. I've watched whatever shoots he's had available. And he said whenever he goes to Memphis, Jerry Jarrett was like, you're going to be the booker, but you are going to be the star, and he's like, I don't want to be the star. Da, 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 da. No, you have to be the star because you can count on you. So from what he says, this was kind of forced upon him or whatever. But yeah, it was a little confusing. It's like, yeah, Eddie Gilbert is the top just horrible person. He's tried to kill Lawler. Well, he almost killed Lawler.
Yeah.
And all of that. And then, yeah, it's just this, it's like a switch. But you could see that it is what happened, because how many times up until this point in the show have they referenced Texas? This is how we do it in Texas. They're planting the seeds, man, and it's heavy, but man, it's I like the flavor. It's something
I loved
different.
it. Yeah, I did too. I loved the promo from I typed love this, and I love Eddie Gilbert's face at the very end when he says what he says, and then decked out in full orange. He's just like looking like, and it reminded me of Jerry Lawler, what Jerry Lawler would act. But just, I love this segment. Absolutely. And as Josh, I'm a big Eric Embry fan and Eddie Gilbert fan too. So this was all. The deal is, and I didn't look forward, and I don't remember what happened, but by just that promo, you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, they're fixing to do that old Memphis stuff where Jerry Lawler comes out and says, I need someone bad to be my tag team partner, and the baddest man in the land who tried to run over me and kill me. And I want him as my partner because we're both from Tennessee and the tech, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know where it's going, but in my mind, that's where it is, and I'm marking out for it. So love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember vaguely how this all played out because actually, I just went through a bunch of this when we were working on the Eddie Gilbert book. But to me, it was just like when the person comes out in the white suit, like when Tommy Rich come out in the pale baby blue suit, when Eddie returned on him, for the new Fabulous Ones angle. As soon as you see Eddie coming out here with his new buddy from Texas, and he's decked out in Tennessee Vol orange from head to toe. You're like, all right, how's this going to play out? But something you pointed out, BT, that's important, and he did it at the end. But really, if you pay attention to Eddie when he's in the frame, he's making those faces each time he would trash Tennessee and he'd put over Texas. Eddie's like,
what? Yeah,
kind of hanging his head a little bit. He's selling it through the whole thing, and that's something else. Like at the beginning of the promo, it was classic. Fired up Eddie Gilbert, all that shit happened last week. Jerry Lawler, we're gonna win the tag belt. But at the end, he has that completely different tone about him. He's like, all right, Dave, I guess I'm just gonna stand in the corner.
Greatness is gonna rub off on him, y'all, by just him standing in the corner.
In the corner.
Love that. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So we have the first, strike in the Tennessee versus Texas war, and that is going to be a heavy theme here in 91. So it's getting ready to kick off. And I love that as Embry rattle off the great wrestlers from Texas, the Funks, Bruiser Brody, and Stan Hansen, and he includes Tom Prichard in himself. What was funny is he shoehorned Tom into the middle. It was like Dory Funk Sr., Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk, Tom Prichard,
yeah,
Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, myself. And Tom's back there doing the damn horns and everything throughout. So, yeah, great segment. And I'm looking forward to watching this all play out. Because, like I say, I vaguely remember some of these things, and I've seen clips. This will be one of the first times I've watched it straight through in many years. So, like I said, we're going to keep it rolling with big TV matches. We're going to have the Southern Heavyweight champ, Jeff Jarrett, taking on Dr. Tom Prichard. So he's going to have to come out from behind the commentary desk and get in the ring. And this was a fun match until Eric Embry comes in with his cowboy boot. And I liked that at some point, I don't remember if it was during this or another time, but they described that it's got some kind of blade attached to it or something. They think
yeah. They did that during when Danny was Uncle Danny was getting his ass beat. They talk about a blade on the shoe.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. But Jarrett's busted open pretty bad. They double team, and this is something we talked about a lot in '93. They double team Jarrett, Embry, and Prichard do for an uncomfortable amount of time before finally Jerry Lawler makes his way out. And you're just like, where are all the baby faces at right now as Jeff Jarrett is getting beat to death? And for a minute there, I'm like, is Eddie Gilbert fixing to come out now? Like, surely we're not jumping that far into it. But finally Lawler makes his way out. I liked that only one time in '93 did they create a reason for Lawler to wait so long to save Jarrett or whoever it was. And that's because they had him come out and covered in soap with a towel around him, like he's back there taking a shower.
Polynesian King.
Yes, that famous clip. But here we didn't bother. Just like, hey, Lawler was out in the parking lot. We know he wasn't smoking. Maybe some kid was out there telling him not to beat up.
So
Eric
he could
Embry
hug
or Eddie Gilbert.
Yeah. I had a couple of notes on this.
Yes.
Why wasn't Jarrett DQ'd for using that chair there? He hit him with a chair first, didn't he, outside the ring, and he didn't get DQ'd. And they beat the fuck out of Jarrett, which they really did. I did talk to Jeff this week via email, and he said that they worked many times. Him and Austin did it in Dallas before they worked on Memphis TV. So, yeah, they'd worked many times, like you said. And Michael St. John, I've got two more comments. He said supplé in this match. Instead of, he did the old Gordon Soley, the supplé.
Nice. Josh, did you have anything specific about this match you want to mention?
I mean, it was pretty cool that they kept working the boot and they're coming out like pit bulls and just being vicious with everybody. It's really cementing what they're trying to get across, and I'm liking it, man, because I don't know that we've seen Tom Prichard here before.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that we've seen him in this light where he's just being super obnoxious, super heelish, and Eric Embry is on another level, as far as that goes. And I'm liking it, and the fact that they're going to get the blood going and stuff. This is a free TV, and they've got the juices flowing. So they're really trying to get this thing steamrolling.
Something else you can pay attention to here. Downtown Bruno's told the story. I know I heard him tell it on Wolfie D's podcast and somewhere else, and in his book as well. Is that he got nominated to go pick Eric Embry up from the airport when he flew into Memphis, and Eric Embry basically he's in Bruno's car riding with Bruno, and before they even get to their destination, lets Bruno know he needs to start looking for a job because he's out. Eric said, I'm fixing to get rid of all the Lawler guys. So fair warning. And so he, for a long, long, long time, could not stand Eric Embry. Apparently, he told me and Doug that he ran into Embry in Charlotte last year at the gathering. He turned the corner, there's Embry, and Embry comes up and shakes his hand and baby faces him. Bruno being Bruno. He said, you and me, I didn't have it in me to stay mad, so I guess we're cool now. So they've buried the hatchet on that. But, man, I heard Bruno go off like 2 different times on, I think it was Wolfie's podcast, about just what a piece of shit Eric Embry was. He hated his guts, and then he told that story. And then you kind of understand. But in Lawler and Jarrett, he goes to Lawler and Jarrett and says, hey, I'm getting fired by this prick. And I think they end up making him a referee or something, and he's able to stay in the territory. But I think that's also why you're seeing Jamie at ringside. Like Bruno was still there this week, but you see Jamie's getting all the heat. He's at ringside, and Bruno didn't say a word during that promo. Well, it's because he's being squeezed out. So, no, Uptown Bruno, not long for USWA 1991, unfortunately.
Well, they need refs, since we had to have Eddie Myrtle last week as a ref. And by the way, for shoot, Downtown Bruno is a damn good referee, y'all. Yeah. Damn good referee.
Yeah, he could have made a career out of that. And actually, he actually reffed last night at EPW, as a matter of fact.
He's really good at it. Yep.
Speaking of refs, next we see a promo from Paul Neighbors and Frank Morrell firing back, letting everybody know what they're going to do to JC Ice and Bruno.
Do I need to take my shirt off?
No,
Paul Neighbors.
No, we're good. Permanent full-time co-hosts don't remove their shirts.
So my bad. I didn't know that.
You'll be breaking your contract.
This is pre-Woodshed Paul Neighbors.
I didn't see that. Well, he still could have been doing it. We just didn't know. I didn't see that in my contract about it. I have to have a shirt on. Damn it.
Yes, page 7, section C.
Damn, Gene. Damn, Gene. You got that.
I thought you just said 7-Eleven rules, Gene.
So,
y'all, Frank Morrell was serious in this promo. I mean, serious.
I rewound this shit and watched it so many times and just laughed and laughed and laughed.
It's funny because we haven't seen even a hint of Paul Neighbors as a referee on Memphis TV here. And apparently, I guess he was working over around Nashville, reffing those shows and stuff, because in the first promo, Jamie references a previous match he had with them. Like, this was the rematch, apparently. So, I don't know. And it's funny to me, I guess, because all the other matches they're promoting in the studio line up with the actual card, this is the only one we're getting specific promos for. But if you didn't know any better, you'd just think the main event, the only match they're talking about for Nashville is this tag team match. So next up, a bloody Jeff Jarrett, along with Lawler, cuts a fiery promo promising revenge. Lawler says Tennessee wrestling fans are the best in the world, and Embry and Prichard will crawl back to Texas after the beating they're going to take. And as a true babyface move here, Lawler mentions that one time, one of the best Texas had to offer, Kerry Von Erich, came to town, and he beat him like a redheaded stepchild. And I don't even know if in 91 that was really an appropriate thing to say on television. But anyway, he said it, and the crowd popped for it. And they are looking for revenge. And then as Lawler and Jarrett finish up, Eddie Marlin comes out to cut a promo on Tommy Gilbert. which brings Tommy Gilbert out. And Tommy's he looks like he just stepped out of what's that show everybody watched here a while back, Yellowstone or whatever. He's got the cowboy hat.
I put
duster.
Tombstone. He just walked out of Tombstone.
He had the Walker Texas Ranger vibe.
Loved
Somebody
that.
just
Loved
walking
it.
downtown in that show.
Yes, loved it. Loved it.
So they have a fun little exchange here. I didn't get a clip of it, but if you're listening to this, go back and watch this episode. Even though the video quality is not great, it's fine. You can see everything, and this is not a bad show at all, y'all. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this exchange with Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Marlin. Eddie tries to bow up like a badass, and finally he just storms off.
I referenced a thing at a gas pump, but this promo was just like that. They went back and I'll whoop you. You ain't never seen the day that you can whoop me. and then he bows up on him. He gets flustered and he walks away. He's like, well, Dave, he ain't that dumb. He walked away, didn't he?
That's right. Eddie Marlin also says what he's fixing to do, which I cracked up by what I'm fixing to do. Also in that promo, Jeff gets a little confused. I don't know if you noticed that he said, I don't know where you're from. Oh, yeah. Texas stinks. I'm like, yeah, this is what this is all about. Texas or Tennessee, and Jeff don't even know where Embry's from. But yeah, you know what I love about Tommy Gilbert, and it was one of those things where he did the same thing, kind of like Nick Botwinkle's interviews and promos. Tommy was never loud. He was never, but man, I believed he was going to whoop Eddie Marlin's ass Monday night. I mean, that's all I could believe was that man. Eddie Marlin did not have a chance ever against Tommy Gilbert. So,
and Eddie believed it too. That's why he got the heck out of there, I think. But yeah, so that's a fun segment. So that's a match we're going to have Monday night, and I like that they kind of let them do that on their own. It doesn't intertwine Tommy into this potential turn and the Tennessee, Texas thing and all that. They just kind of keep this to themselves. And you see that that's why Tommy run in to interfere and Eddie came out for the save, as we had this match in mind last week. And so it's funny how we get places with Memphis sometimes, like, hey, we want to do this match. Well, how do we get there? Well, have Tommy run in on this match. We'll have Eddie run in, and boom, now we've got a match set up. And it's just that simple sometimes. So next up, we got our main event of the day, and boy, it's a doozy. Flamboyant Eric Embry taking on Uncle Danny, Nightmare Danny Davis. And once I realized this is what the match was, I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be great. But of course, we keep with the theme of the show. Eventually we get the run in from Tom Prichard. We got the boot involved again. We got another bloody beatdown. Man, they got Uncle Danny cut a pretty good one here, and Lawler and Jarrett, after he gets busted open and gets beat on for quite a while, Lawler and Jarrett finally run in. And again, I get it, you got to let them get their heat, but damn, if we could come up with something, if cut to the parking lot where they're signing autographs or they got a flat tire, somebody did something to their car or something just to have them distracted, because it's just like, why are y'all letting this get his ass beat for 4 minutes before y'all finally run out? But
motherfucker got my parking spot this morning.
There we go. Michael St. John's last comment that I put, he said they were beating up Danny like a duck on a June bug. Like a duck on a June bug. There we go.
And the only other time, I know that's an old saying, but the only other person I remember saying that on a regular basis, Tracy Smothers used to say that in promos. Buddy, we're going to be on you like a duck on a June bug. And coming from one of the Southern boys, it made sense. But to hear Michael John shoehorn it into this felt really odd.
Yeah, I thought it did too.
And you had text during the week as you were watching the show, Gene. During the run in, whenever Lawler and Jarrett come in, the tea jug comes into play again.
Yes.
But this time it was the saddest appearance of the tea jug. So Lawler comes in, and then Jarrett, I guess, was struggling to keep up with him or something. You just see the tea jug appear because Jarrett throws it, And then he's crawling to catch up for it. He doesn't do shit with it. And Lawler picks it up. It's like, we got to get this T-Jug out here.
I think that the people at Channel 5, every week they come back in on Monday and they go, where's the fucking T-Jug? What did they do with it? It's like, don't grab that. Hide it somewhere. I would be hiding my T-Jug somewhere so they wouldn't mess with it.
It looks like aluminum foil, all dented up and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, did Lipton Tea sponsor them, and this was just the weirdest way to shoehorn them into the show or something? That was so odd. But now, unlike the other matches earlier in the show, Uncle Danny actually wins by DQ. But he did get busted open. But he didn't lose like Curtis Thompson and Chris Walker and the others before him. So that is it for this week's show. So, Jamie Dundee is officially JC Ice Baby, and he's quickly turning into the most hated manager in Memphis. Jeff Jarrett and Danny Davis both bloodied and bludgeoned. And the Tennessee-Texas feud is kicked off. And if you live in Nashville, we got a huge match coming up involving managers and referees you want to go see. So I guess let's take our last commercial break, and then we'll see how you guys felt about all this. Be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Tired of the same boring wrestling podcast? Need something with attitude, chaos, and maybe just a little cussing? That's STSpod.club, and we got it all covered. We've got wrestling weirdness with WTF News Desk, 5-minute time limit, and the Southern Fried Brain of me, BT, stirring the whole ship. We also have Rolling into Memphis every week about the current Memphis wrestling. Interviews, hot takes, and wrestling outrageousness so wild it might get you banned in 12 states. That's right, it's SDSpod.club or search all podcast catchers for Shooting the Shiznit, where wrestling podcasts grow chest hair. Not sure what that meant. Love my mama.
All right, folks. So since this wasn't the Memphis version, we don't have a clip of Dave running down the card, but you guys kind of get an idea for what the card was going to be. So what was your least favorite part of today's show, guys?
I feel like I'm just super nitpicking, and this I have to do this because honestly, I didn't really dislike very much on this show. It was a nice pace, and each segment I was happy or giggling. I mean, it did its job. But the Chris Walker match, man, he has $1 million body, but he's not Billy Robinson. You know what I mean? It's pretty bad. And we have a list of banned moves and people who cannot do them. Jeff Jarrett, number 1, don't fucking do the DDT. It needs to be Chris Walker. Conan, number 2, do not do a drop kick. His drop kicks are so I can do a better drop kick at my age and condition right now. It is fucking horrible. And he only gets probably 2 feet off the ground, and they're kind of like how you'd be bored in class, you get your pencil and fucking fight, your eraser or something, do a little drop kick. It's not very high, and it looks like shit. They need to, and he does them multiple times a match. It's horrible. But that's my only gripe. And it's,
I got to agree with Josh. That might be the only thing with Walker. These last two shows have been so good. So, Walker's just not there, and we know it. I sat here looking at everything. I can't bring anything else out except maybe thumbs down for not being a Memphis show. But, we don't have no control over that and not really being able to. It's fun to see those interviews every once in a while for the local interviews, but I hate it that we didn't get to see what was actually going on to the Mid-South Coliseum. But yeah, Josh is right on this. Walker just right now he needs a lot more training, and I mean he's going to get it here, but he just wasn't there. So
yeah, I agree with that 100%. I couldn't think of anything I liked less than the Chris Walker match. And I'm a big fan of the Dirty White Boy. All right. So what was your most favorite part of this show?
All of the seeds that were planted with Tennessee versus Texas. It's heavy, but it's not like them forcing something on you that you don't like the change. Or it's like, you know how some like WWE was guilty as fuck about it in terms of, throwing Roman Reigns down your throat in like 2014 and 15, and people just wasn't very accepting of that change. This change, it's got so much around it, and it's a lot of intensity involved, because back then there's, even now, but I think even more then, it seemed like there was a little bit more pride in situations like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You fucking asshole Texans running their mouths, talking all this shit. It's real, and it connects with this audience. I
think it is. You're right about that. It's also like the sports thing, kind of. I mean, and when it comes to sports and college teams, Texas, Tennessee, I mean, you have just an arrival of towns like that or states like that. And that's what this comes off as, but then you believe it. And I'll just go ahead and tell my favorite segment was Gilbert and Eric Embry promo. Like you said, it's dropping the seeds. I think my most favorite thing was Eddie during this, and then his reaction after the promo was over. But yes, Eddie and Eric Embry promo was my favorite thing on the show.
While I did like that, I have to say my favorite thing was the Dundees, just because, yes, the segment you guys are talking about are relatable for the reasons that you said, but I also think the Dundee segment is relatable because you can either, if you're of an age where you can relate to Bill as the parent of the punk ass kid that needs straightened out,
his ass whooped,
or if you're young enough, you relate to the kid who's rebelling against the parent. It kind of strikes a chord with everybody on some level, and I think that so and it
struck a chord with Frank Morrell, dude. I hate we didn't talk about that, but Frank Morrell said, "I'm gonna take you behind the smokehouse and set them britches afar."
He was serious, y'all. He was serious.
I should have clipped that. I really should have. I'm trying to do less clips, but yeah, that would have been worthwhile. That may just have to get clipped and go up on the Facebook page or something.
Oh man, that was awesome.
Good old Frank. All right, so really the only match we know for sure that's happening, or two matches we know that's happening, rather, for Monday night. We know Eddie Marlin's going to be taking on Tommy Gilbert, and we know Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett are going to be taking on Eddie Gilbert and Eric Embry. With that in mind, would you guys buy a ticket to see this show?
Absolutely. And, like I say, it's so thick right now. Like this everything happening, and usually you've got one main story going, where Lawler versus whoever, and that's the main thing. And a lot of times everything else kind of gets overshadowed. But this Jamie thing and the Tennessee versus Texas thing going on at the same time makes it must watch, must see. Anytime an event happens, you have to be there because some shit's going to pop off, So yes, I'm going to be there 100%.
I agree. I love the roster right now. Even, we talk about Walker, but I really like the roster, what they're doing. You got guys like Doug Gilbert, Tom Prichard, Danny Davis, Steve Austin, keep on and on, Tony Anthony. And then you got the main event with Lawler, Gilbert, and Jarrett and Lawler. And I just said Lawler twice. But Eddie Marlin against Tommy Gilbert I'm popped for that, man. I want to go down and watch those two old guys beat the shit out of each other. So, yeah, I'm going to get a ticket.
Well, all right. February 18th, 1991 at the Mid-South Coliseum. We do not have an estimated crowd, nor do we have a gate, unfortunately, this week. So we don't know how this drew. But in the opening match, Eli the Eliminator beat Cody Michaels. Dr. Tom Prichard beat New Kid Brian Christopher. Nightmare Danny Davis beat Stunning Steve Austin. Then in a 6-man tag match, boy, with poor Bill, his back was hurting after this one, I bet, these partners. Superstar Bill Dundee, Chris Walker, and U.S. male Curtis Thompson went to a no contest with Dirty Doug Gilbert, the Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony, and Brian Lee, who we didn't see on TV, but he was there Monday night. Semi-main event. Eddie Marlin defeated Tommy Gilbert. And then in the main event for the USWA tag team titles, Jerry the King Lawler and Jeff Jarrett defeated Eric Embry and Eddie Gilbert when Lawler pinned Gilbert. And it'll be interesting to see if we get a clip next week of exactly what took place there. But apparently Eddie did not just stand on the apron and watch because he was in the ring long enough to get his shoulders pinned, and I'm quite sure Eric Embry is going to have something to say about that. That's why you don't team with people from Tennessee.
Yeah, that's right. He got that greatness rub too, so we'll know that when he comes out, he'll be a better wrestler, even though he lost. So there you go.
Yep, that's as long as you grow. It doesn't matter who wins or loses, I guess. But that was it.
Let's rumble.
All right, so let's talk about anything we need to plug before we wrap up this week's show. I know, BT, I think you've checked out this week's P3 Radio and are ready to talk a little bit.
I have. Let me put over my shit first. Shiznit Minute every day. STSpod.club. Link of all links in the right-hand corner. We did episode 977 Saturday. It was rolling into Memphis, episode 234, and Buff Bagwell is back. Man, guys, if you don't watch Memphis Wrestling, go out of your way to watch this show. It might make you cry. Buff comes out in crutches, has a great promo. The very opening segment is him getting out of the car, and good stuff. Me and Mr. Z did our countdown this past week on the G1, the Countdown Wrestling Podcast. And this week, you guys know, or you heard me talk about the record store. I produced 69 episodes of the record store. Giggity. But I have my own music podcast now, and it's called Hit Me With Your First Shot. And what happens is someone comes on and brings their first album, the first album that they bought, and we review it, talk about it, whether I liked it, whether they what they were doing in their life during that time. I have the Duchess of New Jersey on. She's on 5-minute time limit a lot and also has her own podcast. But fun episode. We review, well, this will be coming out. We review Grease, the soundtrack. So if you're not a Grease soundtrack fan, you're gonna hear me screaming like a little girl most of the episode because I love that album. And we talk about P3 Radio. I gave them 4 out of 5 hoots. It's the podcast, so I always talk about videos, but never gives you links. It's episode 421. They went 1 hour and 25 minutes. Woo! I was happy when I saw that. We got some microphone talk at the very beginning, but finally Richard used some of those big bucks and bought some new mics. We had hemorrhoid talk, the return of the pain is what I said, and some turd talk. We had some more talk about working on the old house, which I like. Arguments with the wife. They talked about whether calling someone prissy is legal or not illegal. I'm not sure Richard understands legal or illegal. Mental illness is gay. It's pretty much what Richard said. And most mental ill gay people kiss trees. I just want y'all to know that. And he believes that they should have Bluetooth so that it will quit making us feel uncomfortable, not him. Josh talked about gays putting their arms somewhere, and that's where we got the turtle report. We also played a game that just kind of confused me. But I'm going to tell you what I would have done. So, St. Olaf, Minnesota with sandpaper. That's the hometown of the Golden Girls. So, I think I could have lasted a couple weeks with just sandpaper against the Golden Girls.
Even against the sheriff?
Do what?
Even against the sheriff? There's got to be a town sheriff.
That game was kind of weird. But we did some shit shaming. Courtesy flushing, talking about that.
Richard does not do that. He does not courtesy flush.
And Richard once had a toilet turn on him and start dry heaving when he was pooping. And then my favorite part of the story of the episode, it starts when they start talking about the chiropractic preacher, which I cried about, and some guy that fell off a 20-foot swing, and he went to the chiropractor. By the way, I asked my wife, who is a chiropractor, about the towel thing around the neck.
Mm-hmm.
She says she will not touch that with a 10-foot pole. All it says is malpractice to her. So, and that sound that guy made when he did that, that's the sound that I make every time my wife adjusts me, if you know what I mean. Woo! There we go. That was P3 Radio.
Can you ask your wife if it was possible that the fall, because the guy was like 9 years old, he fell that far. It's almost like his from shoulders down shoulders down went through puberty, shoulders up did not go through. It was like he's still 9 years old on his arms.
She said that it seemed like he didn't have any work done at all. Like he didn't even go to the doctor for this.
He couldn't.
And then she said if it had been that long, especially if it had been, since he was 9 years old, you would not want to grab somebody like that and do that to them because you could cause damage. You could cause, the neck paralysis, everything. But
he looked like Quasimodo when he laid on his belly on the table because he was so hunched. He was like a question mark. He was so hunched up in the back, and that guy was just mashing down on him like it was CPR. And he's just going, not good, bad.
Man, we see it all the time. It's all over she's had people DM her, she said, to ask if she would do that to them. And she's like, no, I'm not going to get caught up on doing stuff like that. Cause if you crack someone's neck, the unprofessional way of doing it, you could be in jail for it, kind of thing. By the way, the chiropractic preacher, I kind of just buzzed across that. We talked about it before the mic started, and it's one of the funniest stories ever. And I just wish I could do cartoons, and I would animate that and put it up as a short or something because it's so funny to think that people just think that they can. And there's a lot of wrestlers. Tommy Rich is one of them. He does some adjustment, don't he?
Yeah, there's a video we shot in Philadelphia of him doing the towel around the neck thing for Doug.
And then Sarge always did some stuff every once in a while. Motley Crue, I've seen him put Sarge's arm back into place and stuff like that and pop a neck.
Uncle Danny, dude, when I wasn't even a teenager yet. He would come in at my granny's or whatever in between towns, and he'd lay down on the floor on his stomach or whatever, and he'd have my mom walk on or me, if nobody else was there, walk on his back, and like you get to the middle and he'd be like, all right, now jump a little bit, and then you'd feel shit go and he'd, okay, get off, stuff like that. And he was the first person I ever seen where if your back was hurting or something, same deal, lay down on the floor. And he would do that CPR looking shit and you'd feel a big pop or whatever. But I always got the impression that most wrestlers were like shade tree chiropractors.
Sting is a chiropractor, right? He's got the license and everything, I believe. Sting does, yeah.
He went legit.
Yeah, he went legit. Like, I think he got it done when he started working. When he started working out, he was in college for that, to be a chiropractor. I had adjustment yesterday. I want to tell you, it's one of the best things you can ever do to yourself, especially when you're old and you sit around in the house all the time. So, brought to you by, no, I won't plug her, but yeah, there we go. I mean, but man,
maybe you should. Maybe that's the problem.
it could go bad, y'all. It could go bad when you're doing stuff like that. So.
No, I was just making jokes. You said you won't plug her.
If you know what I mean.
All right. Well, there you go. I listened to this week's P3 Radio early this week, and I have to say, I don't think you gave the theory about mentally ill people getting Bluetooth enough credit. I think that's a pretty smart idea, actually. It makes
to make everybody else feel comfortable.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just to make everybody else feel comfortable. That's what I loved about it. I cracked up on that.
And they didn't say all mentally ill gay dudes kiss trees, but this guy did, and the tree died not long after that. So
I can confirm that we had to get cut down.
Maybe there's a lesson there. I don't know. But anyway, for all things related to this podcast, check out USWApodcast.com. And if you would, wherever you're listening or watching this, go subscribe, rate, and review. That would really help us out. And also, if you haven't yet, and why haven't you, check out Dangerous Conversations with Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich over at DougGilbertPodcast.com. And I think that's about it for this week. We're going to ask one more time. I didn't expect to get a voicemail from Memo letting us know that Richard was stepping away, but we got one. So that was the first one we've had in a while. But remember, 256 Egg Iron. We'd really appreciate it if you leave us a message of some sort, especially if it's a fun one. We'll play it here on the air. And, some of our old friends, if you want to call us, or God forbid, Robert Fuller, we're still waiting, buddy. Give us a shout. And don't forget to check out WrestleCopia.com and all the great professional wrestling content that Ray Russell provides over at WrestleCopia.com. All right, guys. Anything else before we wrap this one up?
I'm good, Gene.
I'm good too. Love my mama.
All right, we'll see you here next week for another episode of the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast.